actually from our Dallas-Fort Worth area for the company, but I jumped at the opportunity to come and have this opportunity to speak to you all. I consider Shreveport my mini Vegas, so I always like to make this trip here when I can and then speak about auction.com. I feel it's a great company, not only because I work there and wear this green shirt, but I really do feel they are a great company for employees as well as investors like yourself and people who want to take advantage of the products we have moved through the market. One of the things I'd like to encourage you, don't do it now, but of course after the night, I have flyers at the back. A few handouts you're welcome to check out. One of the things we stress big is due diligence. Of course, with any part of the real estate industry, you want to do your due diligence regardless of what type of transaction it is. More so as an investor, it's very important. So we have a flyer, 7 steps to take before you buy, that talks about your due diligence. We also have a flyer about foreclosure sale properties, just gives you more information about that, as well as one on the bank-owned property. There's a difference. We'll be talking about that as I go through the presentation. Thank you, sir. We also have a flyer that talks about some of the different tools and resources we have available. Auction.com is really big on being innovative with our technology. And of course, we know technology rules just about every industry. So we are happy to have a lot of apps that are available on your iPhones as well as your Androids. Of course, you can do the Auction.com app. And with that app, we also have a property tracker, foreclosure tracker, and different tools and resources that is very helpful for you in pursuing foreclosure property. Last but not least, I have a long form that's titled Bidder Services. I invite you to fill out the bottom part of this form at the end of the night and submit that to me. That will add you to our list and will allow you to receive ongoing information from us. Some of the things we offer as a company, in addition to coming out speaking within the community at events like this, we also offer lunch and learns periodically throughout the quarter, different parts of our region. We are a central region, which includes Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, and Oklahoma. And so our lunch and learns, of course, during lunchtime, they're free, lunch is provided, and we cover various topics that pertain to the services we provide. When possible, we'll bring in guest speakers from title service and various affiliates of the industry. Those are free. A lot of this information, you'll get that through your email. We won't flood you with a lot of information like spam, but it is a good idea to stay in the link with us and get information, of course, the services we provide. I am going to sit down in a moment so that I won't block anyone's view. We can do this 2 ways. It's up to you. I can go through the presentation, and you all can ask me questions, or we can say Q&A at the end. What do you prefer? I'm also a college professor, so I try to let the class decide what they want to do. So I'm flexible. We can do it as we go or at the end. Is there a preference?
At the end.
At the end? Okay. At the end's win. So the title of this, of course, is what you need to know about buying at auctions. We are, again, auction.com. If I can get this to move. Our mission is to empower our customers to achieve their real estate goals by providing them with access to the most experienced team, trusted solutions, and exclusive properties in the marketplace. Our promise in exchange is to deliver the best and most rewarding real estate experience for you all. We try our best to create the best experience for us as staff members here within our company, and as a result, we want to pass that great experience off to you all, our customers. On a side note, I'll tell you this. In Texas, we are what's considered a non-judicial state. So in Texas, we have live foreclosure auctions. Can everyone hear me pretty good? Sorry for my back. That's here. So, for example, I'm an auction manager in our Dallas-Fort Worth area. I typically work Tarrant County at our courthouse downtown Fort Worth. As auction managers, we pretty much facilitate the entire flow of the auction. So we have our auctioneers, our contract writers, our bankers, et cetera, et cetera. But we do the live auctions. In Louisiana, you all are a judicial foreclosure state. So even though we have a presence here in Louisiana, we do not actually pry the sale of the properties that are being sold here. Those are done by the sheriff's department through the county. But we are building this presence here. So again, our central region, is comprised of Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Louisiana. Our live auctions are in Texas and Arkansas. So Oklahoma and Louisiana are our judicial states of which we do not pry. Auction.com is considered the nation's leading online real estate marketplace, offering over 30,000 discounted residential, bank-owned, and foreclosure homes. Um, Privately held companies with over 1,000 employees in offices across the U.S. We're headquartered out of California, Irvine. Our corporate office in Texas is in Plano, and we also have offices in New Jersey, Arizona, and Nevada. And we have sold over 329,000 properties, valuing over $39 billion since 2007. So we are proud of our track record. There are other companies out there similar to us, but we are proud to say and we feel that they have not been able to master duplicating us and therefore can't beat the services and stuff we provide and what we bring to the market. This next section is going to give you an idea of the life cycle of distressed properties. I know a lot of investors like to pursue foreclosure properties. There are two different types of foreclosure properties. You have your actual foreclosure property, which is going through the foreclosure process as it goes through the live auction. And then you have your bank-owned foreclosure property that will become bank-owned, or what we refer to as REO, real estate owned. So this talks about the life cycle of a distressed property. We provide a wealth of properties that can support any investment strategy that you may have. So it talks about what's the process. So first, the homeowner defaults on it. The borrower receives a notice of default. Then that notice is going to let them know, hey, pretty much you're at risk of foreclosure. And then the second part of that, if they don't make good on bringing that account current, it goes into the foreclosure process. The foreclosure sales are typically sold at live auction events. Again, here in Louisiana, you have a live event. If you see a green shirt, so we pride ourselves on our green shirts, right? If you see green shirts at your local live auctions, our presence here in Louisiana, it's kind of like from a marketing perspective. We also track data that's done, but we won't actually cry the sale. We invite you to come into Texas, for example, where we do the live sales. We're just right down 20, so you can make that drive and come by with us there. It's a great experience. It's no cost to come out and look at it and or to participate in the auction. Of course, if you participate, you have to bring your funds with us in exchange for the property we're going to sell to you. But just to get that familiarity and that experience, it's a great experience to be a part of a live auction. Has anyone here been at a live auction before? Would you say, what was it, local or in Texas? Local. Okay, yeah. So again, the ones here are judicial. I invite you on a day when you have nothing else to do to come into Texas. Texas, we call it Super Tuesday. It's held the first Tuesday of every month at the courthouses, and we're across all counties. I think we're over 240 some odd counties so far in Texas. We're working on covering all the counties. It's a work in progress. Yes, Mr.
So the properties are made available online before the auction, right?
Right.
Okay.
So for any state that we have a presence in, whether it's judicial or non-judicial, all of our properties are online. You can view what's going to be brought to sale for the live auctions. In addition, we also have a section for REO bank-owned. Once that property deeds back over to the trustee, it becomes REO bank-owned, and those are on sale. Those are on the website as well, and it gives the information as far as the sale dates. The online, of course, is a longer-term process versus coming to the live auctions. You're there, you're bidding, you're winning. We're taking your money, writing the contract. That's for Texas. For Louisiana, the process may be a little bit different. We're still learning some of the processes and rules. It's a little bit harder for us to get it and track it because, again, we're not the one actually conducting the cry of those sales. But if you come to Texas, it's going to be that one stop right there that same day. You bid, you win. We take your funds. You get your electronic version of your contract. Within 4 to 6 weeks, you receive your deed from the trustee, and then the property would be yours.
Is that cash or check or?
In Texas, I hate to sound redundant, right? But the good thing about our website, it will go through. We have a section called the Help Center. You can go through that, and it tells you the specifics for your county. For your state, right? The rules and processes. I know, for example, some states and counties will allow you to do a deposit, and then you have X number of time to do the difference, right? But I don't know the specifics for where you would be shopping. In Texas, it's right then. So, for example, we advise our buyers to bring in cash. It has to be certified funds. You can bring some cash. If you want to spend $300,000, we'd rather you not bring $300,000 cash. You can. We will take it and count it out and give you an 8300 form because it will have exceeded the $10,000 amount requirement. But we prefer you bring various increments of cashier checks. So for example, if you wanna spend $250,000, you maybe could bring 100,000, a 50,000 one, and then smaller increments. Because even though you wanna spend 250,000 a day, you might get lucky and only spend 200, and we don't make change there, right? So whatever you have, whatever we collect, you'll wait a couple weeks to get the difference back in your refund. But yes, sir. So of course, then it goes to the foreclosure sales, which are typically sold at the live auction events, as I mentioned. In the event they do not sell to a bidder at the live auction event, that's the process that all properties have to go through in order for the property to be deeded back to the lender. And then it becomes what we consider bank-owned, and bank-owned properties are sold online with auction.com or through a realtor and are owned by the lender. So every trustee who we work for in the states of which we cry the property, sometimes they will have a additional contract where majority of those properties will move to our online platform. And so, for example, if you want to buy in Texas but you're not able to make it there on Super TV, that's fine. Monitor our REO website for Texas and happy bidding on there. And those online properties, those purchases are more traditional, like your 30, 45 day window, right? And you'd have your earnest money, which is typically 5% of the sales price or $2,500, whichever is greater. Let's talk about foreclosure sales. Foreclosure sale process, what you should know. Auctions are conducted. Some of this is going to be what I've already touched on, but it will just re-emphasize it. Auctions are conducted live at county courthouses and venues across the U.S. Auctions are free and open to the public. This is for auction.com. And I'll tell you this, and we also have a great customer service department on our website, that customer service number. They are very knowledgeable. They can answer any questions you could possibly have, many of which I wouldn't have the answer to, but they're great like that. But there are some companies who sometimes will offer you services through us and want to charge you a fee. You should never pay a fee to anyone to access our tools and services, okay? So everything we do and provide is free. The only thing that's not free is the exchange of the exit, right? Everything else is free. So, because we've heard that. Some people's like, well, I heard I had to pay to register on your website, or I heard I had to pay to come register to, actually bid. We don't collect any money from you doing registration. We do encourage, you don't have to register at the live auction. We encourage you to do that. In the event you are the winning bidder, it makes your contract writing process much quicker. So just a side note, because sometimes as investors, I'm sure you all get flooded with lots of information and proposals and things like that, people offering you services. Our services never come with a fee. Our processes are simple. We have a simplified bidding process. Our documents are easy to complete. At our auctions, we have tablets. All our contract writers have tablets. We have a system called Auction Sync. It's all just information entered right then. Once we click contract complete, you'll get your electronic copy of your sales contract right there immediately by in your email. And we usually have you to wait and make sure you've received that. Some properties may have property reports available. So for example, again, I encourage you to go out on our website, auction.com, and create a free account. And you can, once you have created an account, you can search properties down, for example, if you just went on the website, but every property has a property details PDF file. You can't open that file unless you have an account created. Again, that's no cost. It's just going to ask for some information from you. But almost every property we have has those detailed reports. And as far as our information we get comes from the trustee. So if the information isn't there, it's because it hasn't been provided to us. So for example, it may let you know if the property is vacant, if it's occupied, if there are certain liens on it and things like that. You may drive by any properties you're interested in, but do not trespass or disturb the occupant. That's against the law. And so another thing with the REO, some people prefer, we like you to come to the live auction because that's the part I'm a part of, right? But we want you to use us regardless. But one advantage that some people find with the REO side from buying on our website once it has deeded back to the trustee is that they can get more information. Sometimes the trustees may have cleared some of the liens up. So for example, the day of the live auction for sale, any liens and things like that with that property conveys with the property. There may be a few exceptions of what the trustee would clear up, but majority of them conveys with the property. So that would be your responsibility in the event that property is still occupied, you cannot go to that property when you leave our auction and say, hey, here's my sales receipt, I just won this house, you have to leave. You have to wait till you actually receive the deed from the trustee, and that confirms your possession. Because every now and then, a property may get rescinded after the sale, and the trustee would notify you of that. So you don't wanna prematurely make contact, if that property is still occupied. You wanna wait till you have the deed, and then we strongly encourage you to seek, advice from your local county, or you have parishes here, as far as the eviction process. As investors, many of you already have properties from what I hear, so you're probably aware of the eviction process, but you would have to follow those same rules and procedures. For us at the live auction, there's no buyer premium. As I stated earlier, we accept cash or cashier's check. If you spend more than $10,000, not necessarily just on one asset, but cumulative. So let's just say you buy 2 properties from us at the live auction, and you gave us $2,000 cash on one and $8,000 cash on the other. That total of $10,000, we'd have to have you complete out an 8300 form. And we like to remind people of that because sometimes people don't like to fill that information out with us, and it's what we're required to do by the IRS. So we try to keep everyone happy, right? So there's no buyer's premium at the live auction. If you decide to buy from our online platform, some of those properties may have a buyer's premium, and that would be stated on that detail page for that particular property. Read and understand your due diligence. Again, that's a flyer I have at the back on our website. Our website is a wealth of information. You can, even if, again, of course, you live in Louisiana, but you can read up on various states, the surrounding states that you may be interested in investing in as well, and it will help you understand that. So the foreclosure process: find, research, and buy. Of course, we want you to start at auction.com, and hopefully after tonight you'll be like, yeah, I'm going to search and find me a property with auction.com. So one, you search for your properties you can search by county, city, or zip code. It's very user-friendly. Research the property, again, doing your due diligence. Review the property details page that we have. Confirm the events of the auction, whether it's going to be on our live auction site or if you're going to buy it online. Our online auctions will have a start date and an end date for that time frame, right? So, for example, your state might be every Tuesday, right? It may start. But again, that detail page for that particular property that you're interested in will give you those specifics, and you will want to monitor that. Also on our website, you can search for properties, and you can put a star by them and mark them as your favorite. And so as activities and statuses change with that property, you would receive those notices, FYI. And then if you're coming to a live event, you report to the courthouse or wherever the location was indicated on that property. Bring your funds, however much you're wanting to spend and what you feel is going to be required. Again, you would register to bid, and then you would bid and hopefully win and go from there. How do you start your research? We encourage people to, title companies, I'm sure you're familiar with those, offer services. They can help you do title searches and things like that. I know, I don't know how it is for Louisiana, but for example, in Texas, for specific counties, we can go on those counties' websites into their county clerk records, and we can look at some details of a property. So just be mindful of your resources that you may have here in Louisiana. And if you don't have those resources or you're not comfortable using them, definitely reach out to a title company. The due diligence, again, is some of the things we encourage you to do before buying. Examine recent sales and prices. Of course, as investors, you already do that. You have an idea and knowledge of how to research the market and what things should and shouldn't cost you. And of course, as an investor, you know what you do and don't want to spend. Do a title review. Evaluate the property. If the house is vacant, you may want to have a licensed home inspector evaluate the property. That's only if it's vacant. If it's occupied, you won't be able to get inside, but you can drive by to assess the exterior. And when we say assess the exterior, you'll be surprised, not saying you would do this, but you'll be surprised. You'll have people like walk up on a property. Well, I was just trying to look through the window. I was just hoping to see through the backyard. You can't do that. We don't encourage you to do that. We don't advise you to do that. And like in Texas, we have the castle, I forget what they call it, but basically people are subject to shoot, right? And so you don't want to be on their property because it's theirs until through the day of foreclosure, right? And anything can happen.
Look at the upside potential. You know what you do and don't want to have for your investment property, what's important to you, whether it's transportation, school districts, whatever you feel attracts the buyers you're going to be looking for if you're flipping, or the renters you're going to be looking for if you're going to use it as a rental property. Attend nearby open houses. That's if you kind of want to get market information like that. But most people just either already have relationships with real estate agents, or they know how to do their own market search for pricing and things like that. Research your zoning requirements as well as your liability insurance coverage. Again, I have a flyer at the back that addresses those same things, those same items, as well as on our website we have our due diligence. Payments, we talked about this. For funds, full payment required for each property you're winning bidder for on-site or within 24 hours. Again, it depends on the rules of the state in which you're buying. Forms of payment, we talked about that. Cashier checks, cash. In Texas, it's just those two options. Louisiana and Oklahoma may offer wire options, again, because those are through the sheriff department. How much should you bring? We talked about that. It's about what you want to spend. And what do I get after I hand over the money? Again, you'll get a receipt of your basic information, how you would like your title vested. Vesting is very important. I'm sure you all know that. When you purchase with us at a live auction, we're going to ask you how would you like this property vested. You may buy it in your name, but for example, some of you may have LLCs and other entities in which you want your properties vested in. You would give us that information at that time, because that information is what will be conveyed to the trustee when they prepare your deed. And in the event you want to change that later, then of course a cost may come with that. So it's better to have that decision made at the time of your purchase. In approximately 10 business days, you would get your refund if that's applicable, and in approximately 4 to 6 weeks, you would get your deed in the mail from the trustee. And if anything were to come up after the fact that the property is sold, the trustee would notify you of any rescinded properties or things like that. And also, when you get your sales receipt from us, it has the trustee's contact information on there. So let's just say, for example, 4 to 6 weeks have passed and you haven't received your deed, you would call them. You could call auction.com, our customer service number, and they're going to refer you to the trustee contact on that receipt that you had. So they would be the one responsible for getting that information to you. Again, if it does not sell to a winning bidder at the live foreclosure, whether that's because no one bidded on it. Every now and then we have a property that no one bids on, or we may have people bidding on it, but it didn't reach the bank's reserve, and so therefore it will revert back to the bank and becomes what we call bank owned, or you will hear referred to as REO. Our bank owned properties, the opportunities and benefits of that. Bank owned properties are also referred to as REO. As I said, property has been moved through the foreclosure process and it's now owned by the servicer or lender. Many liens and title issues will be removed by the foreclosure process by the time the closing process occurs. By this time, the banks are really motivated. They hope to sell it at the foreclosure sale, but by the time it becomes REO, it's now costing them more money, because 9 times out of 10, they're going to contract an agent from the market to go ahead and make sure the property is secured. If it's wintertime like now, they're going to have to spend money to have it winterized and things like that. So there's more money that's going to go into it. Also now with agents and things like that involved, once it becomes REO, some banks will offer commissions for agents to list it and or bring a buyer. So now that's more money because they're having to pay commissions. So that makes them more motivated. The longer it sits in their inventory, the more it's going to be likely costing them money. Some properties are vacant. Many have open house opportunities if they are vacant. And even if they don't have open houses, the property detail page would let you know who to contact if you wanted to schedule a showing to view that property if it's vacant. Some opportunity to buy bank-owned properties without a buyer's premium. Again, that's property specific, as well as I mentioned, the earnest money deposit is property specific. How to buy a bank-owned property. You find, again, our website is, you would search the property that you're interested in. Once you identify it, flag it, and you can go ahead and register to bid for that property and place your bid. If once you win that bid, which hopefully you would be the winning bidder, we also now have a department. I don't know how they select which properties they do it for, but sometimes they will reach out to bidders close, like, let's just say, for example, they've seen 6 people bidding on a property. The day it's due to end, they may, hear them sometime calling to say, hey, see you were bidding on this, the property, the auction's gonna end in an hour, 2 hours, would you like to add another bid, cause you've been outbidded? So, anyway, there are different opportunities. At the end, hopefully you would be the winning bidder. At that point, you would receive an email with instructions on the next steps for submitting your earnest money and completing what they refer to as the purchase agreement and any other documents. So, for example, you would have a certain amount of time to provide your proof of funds, whether that's a bank statement if you're going to be paying cash or whatever it is, just like you would with a traditional purchase. Whatever your proof of funds is, you would submit those documents. Excuse me. And then you also have the option to use your own closing company, your title company, or to use the seller's closing company. And all of that information and those options will be provided in the information you receive after winning the property. And then if you have any questions during any of those processes, you would reach out to our customer services department. This is our bank-owned auction schedule. Of course, it's kind of small. I don't expect you to absorb all of this, but for example, Louisiana is up first. The auctions are conducted only once per week and end on the following days. So, for example, Monday auctions, Louisiana, our online auctions always start on a Monday. So, same with Texas. And again, this information is easy to find on our website. You would just type in whatever state it is you're interested in, and it would show you the details for that state. And then, of course, as I mentioned earlier, we have lots of tools that are helpful for you savvy investors. This tap button. We have apps for the iPad, iPhone, and Android. You can search and bid on the go with our fully functional iPad, iPhone, and Android apps, which is downloadable for free from the App Store. You are able, the beauty of these tools are, for example, if you want to track a property that's, let's say you're bidding in one parish, for example, but there's another property, you may have a partner you're working with that you hope to send over to another area to look at a property. You can track it and see the status. If it was cleared to sell, let's just say, for example, there are only 2 properties you're interested in buying, it would be helpful if you knew if they cleared to sell or were pulled, right, before you make that drive to the auction. Because if you get there and they've been pulled for whatever reason, then you wasted a drive. Well, some of the tools we have allow you to be able to track those properties that have piqued your interest, and you can determine if you're going to go out and actually bid on them. We also have, so that's our foreclosure interact. We also have a property tracker, which allows you to create a list amongst different counties and states for properties of your interest. It just makes it easier to organize the properties that you're interested in. I thought someone said, oh. And so then again, as I mentioned, we have agent broker opportunities. If you're an agent or know an agent, if you, as an investor, if you have an agent who you usually use to help acquire your properties, we encourage them to register on our website. There are lots of different ways they can get involved, even with helping represent you through some of the bank-owned. At the live auctions, we do not work with agents at the live auction. For example, if you have an agent who works for you and you want to send them to purchase on your behalf, you can do that, but of course they will be your responsibility to pay their commission. The opposite is on the REO side. Once it's online, some of those properties do offer a commission to the agent where you wouldn't be the one paying it. And this just talks about getting started. Of course, going to our auction.com. It's a wealth of information out there. Even further detail about the things I've shared with you tonight. And again, I have my flyers on the back table. And this is our Bidder Services Central at auction.com, as well as the phone number for that division. And again, our central region includes Texas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, and Arkansas. And now I will open it up for questions. Yes, Lee and Chevy and.
Well, since I followed the rules.
Uh-oh,
and
what were
held
the
my
rules,
questions
Lee?
to the end.
Oh, yes, yes,
I've
yes.
got a couple. I've got a couple for you.
Okay.
So it's fairly standard to have a 5% buyer's premium, at least in the auctions in this area that I've noticed.
Okay,
Is that correct with auction?
for the online.com,
Yeah.
for the web, for the online
Yeah,
platform.
because
yes.
our live auctions here just
Right,
relate
the
those to
buyer's premium
sheriff's
doesn't
service.
apply, exactly, right. So
Um,
it's 5%, the earnest money is 5% or, 2,500, whichever. But the buyer's premium, is it 5%? I don't know what that percentage is.
All the ones that I've seen have been 5%
5%.
buyer's premiums.
Okay,
And then, the other question, and I'll go ahead and tell you guys, auction.com versus Hubzu versus Zone versus blah, blah, blah. Head and Shoulders, they've got their stuff together better than the rest of them. For example, on Hubzu, I had to fight for 2 weeks to get some investors out of a deal because Hubzu, whenever you go on there and you can list a realtor as the agent, still go in and bid, win, ratify the contract, and you've foregone any inspection period. So that's one thing to be aware of with Hubzu. You do not get inspection periods with them. Secondly, they also want you to use their title company, Altisource, and it's really just all outsourced is what it is. So good luck finding somebody that you can communicate with effectively. Just kind of pointing out a few differences between auction and some of these other ones. As always, do your due diligence, like she said, and never try to go there and put in the code of the street address. They don't do that. They don't put their street address on the lot boxes, do they? No, thank you. Some of the other companies do. I'm not saying who. Do your own due diligence. Don't get shot. And the last thing I've got to say is, where did y'all get the pins? These are awesome.
you like them?
Yes.
I don't know who our supplier is, but marketing does a great
I'm
job.
gonna have to get like.
I
3 or
have
4
more,
of them.
so I have those on the table, but I have more.
So long story short, just about auction. Keep in
.com.
mind, auction.com. That these guys, they're the big hitters in the game. So if you're looking at their stuff, they've done their due diligence. They've got property detail reports for you to look over. So just kind of a plug for them on that.
Yes.
So,
Were you
my-
through,
No,
Lee?
that's all.
Okay, yes.
My question was about when you purchased when you would have bid, you talked about how, so can someone come back and get their property after you win a bid?
So are you referring to online or live auction?
Oh,
Well, actually, yeah, so I'm not a real estate attorney, right? So this is a flat
Full
layman
disclosure.
man's
Gotcha.
answer. For foreclosure sales, right, there's, I don't know about Louisiana, there's very little wiggle room for a redemption period. It's like very unique type of circumstances. For example, a deployed military person, for example, if, they shouldn't have been foreclosed on while they were deployed, whatever. There are certain circumstances, right? So like, for example, I said, you may win a property at our live auction. We will have written your contract, but that next week or later that day, you may get a call from the trustee saying, hey, we've had to pull that property. They don't tell us why,
okay.
right? If we're lucky, they'll call us. Like I said, I'm an auction manager. If I'm lucky, they'll call me there doing my auction, and you're still there. I can be like, hey, Mr. Chevy, you know what? I'm sorry, we're gonna have to return your funds to you because you're getting them right back then, right? Oh, and one of the things, I'm sorry, on a side note, when you bring your cashier's checks to the live auctions, you'll have them made payable to yourself, right? Or whatever your company is or whatever it is. You wouldn't have them made payable to the trustee nor to auction.com because that way in the event you don't win a property or you don't use all the checks you brought, you can easily return them back to your bank. But yeah, so there's very little, a very narrow margin of redemption, what that could look like, right? But for the most part, no. If there's any type of redemption, it would usually be initiated through the trustee, not the home buyer themselves, not with you.
How can someone in the country bid on a property that's facing the inside?
So it's a gamble, right? You have some people who, so the live auction is, let's just say hypothetically, 100% risk because you're truly going in it blind. At the most, you may have just driven by that property. Once it becomes REO on our online platform, it's not guaranteed because, for example, whoever owned that house may still be living in it, and in that case, the bank may or may not will have tried to get them out, or it may become your responsibility. If it is vacant, once it's on our online platform, there's a great possibility that showings and things like that are available, so you could possibly have access to the property. It's a gamble. Buying at auctions, whether they're live or online, isn't for everyone, but there are some people who love it and it's their preferred method. It's just finding that fit that works for you. You're welcome. Yes, Terry.
So when I go down to, the Caddo Parish courthouse on Wednesdays for the, for the auction, prior to doing that, I can go and I can get a folder for each one of the properties. I can go through the folder and I can see what liens are there. If there's an IRS lien, sometimes that falls off, sometimes it doesn't. But I get an idea of what's going on with the property. Now, how does that work with auction.com? I mean, I thought is it a difference between the online and the in-person?
Yes, ma'am. So at our live auction, if there's any information available that we know about the property, it will be online for that property leading up to the live auction date, and it would be on that property detail page. Some stuff we may not know. Again, it's just we're relying on what the trustee gives us to share with you all. And then once it reverts back to the bank, to our online platform, by that time there may be more information that comes available. And then again, that information would be added to the site as well. Did that answer your question?
Do the liens fall off?
It's property specific, and when I say that, in regards to liens, it's up to the trustee. Certain liens, like I don't know what their criteria are, how they pick and choose which ones they clear, but some, the day of at the live auction, they pretty much all convey right. Let's just say probably 9 out of 10, or if not 10 out of 10. Once it becomes REO owned, it may, as a tongue twister, it may, the trustee at that point, now since it's back over to them, may clear some of those liens. So it may be lien free, or it may have fewer than what it started with.
But you'll know that.
If we know it, yes ma'am, it would be out there. Yes ma'am.
And Terry, to speak to that, whenever the title company, they do their title search because you have to get a merchantable title, right? So that's why a lot of the times, once it's reached that stage of the online auction, they've had to go and clear that up because you can't issue a merchantable title otherwise. At the sheriff's sale or, their Super Tuesday, all's fair game.
Right. And at either option, we encourage you to have some title searches and things like that. It's an expense to you, of course, but we think it's worth the cost to prepare you better, inform you what you're pursuing. Any more questions? Yes.
When I look at properties online on your site, I was puzzled because it's got like an ARV value. It has a reserve, and then it has a starting bid. And I think to myself, well, if
Why
there's
so
a
many
reserve.
Why not start at the reserve?
Exactly. So
So-
could you address that?
Yeah. So we are like the middle person. We are the implementer of the wishes of the trustee per se, right? So for example, one trustee may tell us, this is our reserve, this is what we want you to open the bid at, which is at the reserve, right? And we follow those instructions, like literally, on site at the live auction, as I pull up an asset for my auctioneer to pry, I have specific instructions for that specific property. So if we're prying 50 properties that morning, 30 may have the same set of instructions starting at the reserve. The other may not, right? So we don't determine that. It's with the instructions from the trustee. And how they determine that, I don't know. You would think they would want to open at what they know they want to get, right? But in their boardroom somewhere, they decide not to take that approach.
So does it make sense to bid lower than the reserve? Are there any opportunities to get a property
So-
at less than reserve?
So here's what I can tell you. At the live auction, no. At the live auction, as if my auctioneer is not able to get that asset at the reserve amount or higher, it reverts back to the bank. On the live auctions, on the online auction side, I've seen it where you may win, let's just say the reserve was $250,000, right? And the highest bid may have come in at $220,000. I've seen it where the trustees will have those asset managers have someone reach out to that highest bidder. So there's a possibility, it may now record that day that it ends that you were the winning bidder, because of course the reserve wasn't met. But there are circumstances where they will backtrack and reach out to who that highest bidder was. Because for example, if it's 5,000 or 10,000 shy of what they were hoping to get, that doesn't really have to be a deal breaker. It has to be for that moment of time for that auction as it's ending. But hindsight, they can revisit that and decide, hey, we wanted to sit here and risk getting vandalized. If it's not winterized, plumbing, things happen. that's gonna cost us way more than that $5,000 or $10,000 difference. So it's at their discretion, but if it's gonna happen, it would happen on the online side, definitely not at the live auction. We are there to sell it at what they've set as that reserve, and if it doesn't, we have to revert it back to them, and then they decide what they do going forward. Yes, ma'am. Any more questions? Comments, concerns? Yes, Lee.
I know.
You know there's a fee now.
Well, yeah. All right, so some of the things, one of them, and forgive me if my terminology is off, does auction.com allow ghost bidding? So can someone from the bank bid up to that interest for the reserve against somebody like Nancy for a property? Her bid doesn't meet the reserve. That ghost bidder does exceed the reserve. Obviously, they're not buying it back from themselves. That's when they typically reserve the right to go back and negotiate with the highest bidder. Is that kind of my understanding for auction?
Okay, so your question is, does auction.com permit ghost bidding?
Yes.
Right. Auction.com doesn't permit anything, right? We, again, kind of like, as I answer a question, we do whatever the trustee says. So the trustee may have someone out there bidding on their behalf. We may or may not know
Okay,
that.
so it's not like y'all employ a
Right,
certain
no,
department
sir.
for that.
No, sir.
However, the bank very well could have someone do it.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Is that legal? Can they legally do that?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And we also, one of the things I didn't mention, for example, hopefully many of you will eventually try definitely create your auction.com website. Definitely, if you have the time, fill out the bidder services form for me tonight. But going forward, hopefully at some point you all will make a decision to take advantage of some of the services we provide and purchase some of your investment properties from us. But at that time, you will, I think it's very good. I really lost my train of, I remember it now. And my light bulb on me. So hopefully you will buy a lot of properties because we have a VIP program. I don't remember what the criteria is, but for example, it may be to purchase 30 properties per year or 25 per year, whatever that quota is. And in that VIP program, some of the perks of that, for example, they offer proxy bidding. Along the lines, it's not ghost bidding, but for example, if you are in that category where you can proxy bid, for example, you're here in Louisiana, you can bid on a property in Texas and not be there. We would take your proxy bid. So as the auctioneer, for example, the auction we had earlier this month, we had some proxy bids going on during our Tarrant County auction. And it was interesting because it's like, if these people aren't here, but it's a bid going on for them. And so those are some of the added perks to work your way up to as you find our tools and assets beneficial to you. Any more questions? Comments? Concerns? Chevy, definitely a female.
So, you talk about agent fee. Do you have to be an agent to make commission?
So if you are going to make a purchase on from the online platform and you have someone, they do have to be licensed. Some trustees will, let's just say, for example, if you have a real estate license, some trustees will allow you to represent yourself in the transaction. Some will not. So, and you'll know that when you fill out your contract information after you've won that bid. They'll send it to you, and let's just say you submitted with your name, Chevy. They'll reply back saying, hey, you can't represent yourself per the trustee, but you're welcome to list someone else. And so it's at their discretion.
Can I clarify, I think, what you were asking? All right, so
Okay.
for wholesalers.
Why'd you let me go that long, Chevy? And it was
No, for wholesalers, in the state of Louisiana, you cannot collect a commission unless you're a licensed realtor.
Okay.
As a wholesaler, theirs is more of an assignment. So all they're doing, they're not selling the property, they're selling their interest in that property.
Yeah.
So that's all they're doing. So he's
So-
looking for an assignment fee
Okay.
out of it.
So with auction.com, the person has to be a licensed real estate agent. And they do verify their licensing with the state in which they work, yeah.
Boom, head drop.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Got you.
Anybody have any other
But
questions?
Chevy, for example, same like I said, with if you send someone to go to the live auction for you, we don't offer agent commissions at our live auction. But it's up to you all in this industry what you want to pay for someone to go out and do these transactions for you. So that doesn't close that door for you.
Could we get a round of applause for Rhonda coming out? Just kind of a note here, as she said earlier, she's not a real estate attorney, nor am I, so any of the stuff that we've discussed